I would like to thank you so much. My name is Nsigelo Kolosa. I'm here today with the team and also have DG. And today it's actually a beautiful day. It's a very emotional day, whereby we're going to discuss about the sacred space, GBV in sacred space. And with what we have been seeing along the years of activism in the faith space, in the interfaith space, we've been witnessing a lot of gender-based violence, and we've been seeing recently that we need to know where is the position of the survivors. And for record, we do have some survivors here and also victims. So please kindly uh, have grace on us. And if a victim is here or survivor, they want to share, they are open also to share. Yes, thank you so much. I'm going to be introducing you DG Danielle. She's going to be here answering some few questions, conversations that basically will make us maybe to understand. And I'm just encouraging you, leaders, that if you have any question and or you have any suggestion, please utilize the inbox. Meanwhile, on that inbox, please introduce yourself. DG, welcome. Can you please come and explain why we are here in few seconds before we can take questions?
Sure, I can do that. Can you hear me?
Yes, you are audible.
Okay. Can you see me on my new camera with my wild windswept hair? My name is
Yeah.
Daniela Genrich. Colleagues like Nsika call me DG. There's a long history to that. In my previous organization, I was teased as being the Director General. I am not any Director General, but it's lovely to see you here and that we are going to have a conversation. We want to understand more about gender-based violence in sacred spaces, and what better way to understand than learning from survivors themselves. We didn't, however, want to burden, it can be very difficult for survivors to keep on and on and on telling their stories. So we have some recordings of some well-known survivors that spoke at the launch of the subcommittee of the CRL, the Commission for Cultural, Religious and Language Rights, that's specifically looking at gender-based violence in sacred spaces. And we are very privileged, we were very privileged to be at the launch of that meeting. And there was a media conference, and three very courageous survivors from three high-level cases were there. And what we've done is we've pulled out some quotes to help us with our conversation with some very specific aspects of gender-based violence in sacred spaces that we really think might be useful for us to learn from them. And I really want to thank you, thank them. Some of them are here, I think, some not. So the three survivors that we will hear from on recording are Cheryl Zondi. You might remember her as the key complainant and witness in the Omatorso case. We also have Erica Bornman that we will share some wisdom from the Kwasi Sabantu case some years back. And Sihle Sibisi, who also has a program on SABC. And she is a survivor of the TB Joshua 6 trafficking case. And I'm very excited to be learning from them. And but I also want to say that some of what they share might be quite hard to hear. And for those of us that are not used to necessarily hearing from survivors, it might be also hard. And we thank you if you are here and are open to that. But just to say, let's try and keep our hearts and minds open and try and put ourselves in the position of survivors so that we really can learn from them. If you find yourself triggered, We will put into the chat the number for the Pepisa Survivors Network. I'm not sure, Nompilo, if you are here, but we will put a number or two numbers from Pepisa into the chat. And it's also available. Sorry, we need people to please mute. Keteklo and Tuli Magaza, please could you mute for us? Thank you, Zetekre. Tuli also, thank you. Yeah, so if you feel yourself triggered, those you can follow up with those numbers if you do need to talk. We do understand that this is not an easy conversation. We want to assure you that this is, we will ensure that this space is as safe as possible. And we will, in the process, Tsika and I will start with a conversation, just half an hour, and then we will open up the conversation, having heard from those recordings, and some wisdom from Tsika will lead us in the process. I think, was that what I was meant to do, Tsika? Then I'm going to close here. Thank you.
Thank you so much, DG. Can you please assist Sonia with maybe switching off the mics that are open because it's really disturbing us. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, colleague, for forgiveness for the sound that is coming. Colleagues, remember that you can also comment if there's a question that you want to put input in. Because of time, we are starting now. DG, is GBF really a problem in secret spaces?
I'm going to play a very short little bit from Cheryl Zondi in an interview with Sife Sibifi. So let's give Cheryl the first word.
Me and a few other girls were prayed over by the appointed pastor, and the prayer was, I felt like
Holy Spirit.
Yeah, I felt like whoa, you know. And then they played videotapes of Timothy Omotos. The man hated having mothers in the church, older people. He wanted young people only. This gargantuan figure on the bed, under covers, wearing a shirt and it's unbuttoned and it's like dim lights. You know, the curtains are closed. This is awkward.
So I think that just kind of sums it up. And it's not just one person's experience. She comes with a desire to learn how to pray. She's prayed over. She hears about this heroic prophet. She's full of admiration. She's called into his office, and that is what she finds. Thanks, Nsika.
Thank you so much, DG. So what evidence do we have, or how do we know this is a problem? It is not just the criminals taking chances.
A study was done in KwaZulu-Natal, and it found that approximately 55.38% respondents are GBV victims within the church. 55.38 in the place of worship. And it also says that some religious leaders, right, when we talk about the abuse of power, why is there underreporting? That's because some religious leaders and pastors who have been implicated as perpetrators. They use their positions of authority to silence the victims.
Wow. Oh, okay, DG, I just want to understand that maybe, back in my mind, I'm thinking maybe the government is not just victimizing the faith sector or overreaching. What about the constitution guarantee of freedom of religion?
So, Nsika, I keep asking when I hear this argument, whose rights are we talking about? It seems that there's a lot of noise from institutions, religious institutions and religious leaders who are clamoring for their freedom of religion to do what they want to be doing. But what about the ordinary worshippers, the ordinary members and citizens of our country? Surely freedom of religion and freedom to be able to worship safely and in peace and in ways that make sense to us is really critical. And if an institution's freedom of religion contradicts the right to dignity, equality, safety, security, the right to worship freely, the right even to housing, food, and water, these are all matters that are not just in the Constitution, but Jesus personally stood for them. So, in a sense, it's really a weak excuse. And at worst, a form of spiritual abuse in itself for a religious leader or an institution to say they don't need to obey the highest law in the country because they only have to obey God. And more than that, in this whole debate, we've heard nothing from the group that's resisting accountability or the groups, different people, about their responsibility to God's people, and especially to those who are survivors of abuse, to ensure that they protect each of us in our faith spaces. Surely it's our calling to protect and restore the dignity and life and safety of all that are in our care. So it really it feels like we need to be sensible, and we need to ensure that we're not making excuses, to hide behind the Constitution.
So, yes, sorry. So why so many concern about faith sector and GBF when surely is a common across all sectors of the society? Why specifically faith sector and GBF?
Well, it seems to me that that the extent of the damage that's done in the faith sector is actually far more serious. We, as we will speak out, we have members of Pepisa Survivors Network on our board, and they are very helpful in guiding us. And one of the things that Nompilo has said that keeps coming back to us is when you're abused, it's not just your body that's attacked. It's not even just your mind and your mental state, it's your spirit. So it's extremely serious, and it affects your relationship with God and your fundamental spirituality. And more than that, spiritual abuse provides a kind of cover, in a way, for other forms of abuse in a faith institution. So if your pastor says to you, you can't leave your husband, even though he's just beaten you to pulp and you're lying in hospital and you're afraid for your life, because the Bible says that divorce is wrong. That is a deep violation of trust when our sacred texts and what we hold sacred are betrayed and they're used out of context. And even more, when a sacred, like that sacred text and many others, are actually weaponized for harmful ends. And when you think about what Cheryl shared right at the beginning, her desire to go deeper with her prayer life was abused to bring her into a totally compromising situation that she did not expect, with the so-called spiritual daddy that was held in such high regard. So it's something we really, really need to take seriously, particularly as the faith sector. Thanks.
Yes, thank you so much, DG. And this is the question that I have now. It's one of the questions that is next to my heart because in all what is happening now, in all the tablets we are reading, in all the TikToks we are looking, there is no voice of survivors. It seems there's no one who talks about the survivors. Why is it so important to listen to survivors' voice and to learn what with their experience, what they've experienced in life?
Yeah, well, there's no one as expert in a situation as somebody who has gone through it. And in that sense, survivors are the experts that particularly we as faith leaders and people of faith really should be listening to and learning from. And many have really agonized how did it come about that they allowed this or that this happened to them, you know? And so it's really, really important that we listen to their wisdom and to what they have learned that we ourselves maybe could never really imagine because of our own limitations in terms of our own position. So why don't we
Yes.
listen to Erica's story? Erica Bornman was the person who was the whistleblower on the Kwasi Sabantu case. And let's hear her reflections on not just what happened, but her reflections afterwards and see what we can learn.
I speak to you today as a survivor of abuse in a sacred space as well. I was a teenager and then a young woman, groomed by my religious counselor at the church of my childhood, where they hand out titles of pastor as if it's sweets without any training. In this church, we were also taught as young women what our place was, and our place was to be subservient to men. We were told very clearly that we are stumbling blocks, that we cause men to sin, and so in that we were encouraged to shrink ourselves so as to not become a stumbling block to a man. In this context, you put vulnerable young women and girls in a room with a man who has power over her, and this is religious counseling that is happening, and there is bound to be abuse. My religious counselor groomed me over the course of many years, and I eventually grew so uncomfortable. I knew something was wrong, but I thought I was the problem. I was the sinner because I'm the woman, right? I did go to the leader of the church and I spoke to him about it. He called me a Jezebel and a Delilah, and he did nothing. Sometime later, this same counselor waited until a friend of mine was 18 and then he raped her. And when this friend of mine went to the same leader of the church, he said to her what he said to me and what they said to many other young girls and boys who were sexually abused and raped. He said, repent of the sin of making a man of God stumble. Ask God to forgive you. And then speak of this to nobody, not even your mother. It took me a while to understand that what I'd experienced and witnessed was abuse. And once I did, I started speaking out. I had left the church by then. I was in my early 20s. And when I started speaking out, I got a lot of backlash from Christians who said, you are undermining the work of God by speaking out. Why are you bringing this into the public space? Why are you bringing this into the media? This should be dealt with internally. Dealt with internally, really. I've come to understand that the only people served by silence are the perpetrators. The only people served by so-called internal processes are the perpetrators. Over the years, I tried to understand what happened to me and what had led my parents to be in a place that was this abusive. And as I started learning and reading and understanding, the one core element is coercive control. And you've heard about that. Now, South Africa's amended Domestic Violence Act acknowledges coercive control in domestic violence situations. It acknowledges, it allows for the granting of protection orders even without a single bruise. And that is such a huge step, and well done, South Africa. But we need to expand this, because that dynamic happens not only in a home, it happens in our schools, and it happens in our churches, in our missions, in our sacred spaces. And we have to start understanding, and we have to start educating people that isolating, shaming, controlling people. That is all elements of coercive control.
Thank you. And Sika, just really to sum up the lessons around what happens to a person, and the concept of coercive control is really critical, and we're going to explore it a little bit further. But just to let you know that we're not completely leaving it there. So if you want to continue with the questions, we can do that, and it will come clearer as we go on.
Okay, thank you so much. And please, colleagues, if there's anything that you have an input for a certain question, maybe something that you want to add, maybe you want to minus, please add on the chat box. The DG, we already have a great constitution and a legal framework of GBV-related laws, as well as support institutions like the TCC and etc. available. Why should there be a accountability mechanism and response system specifically for the faith sector?
Your question reminds me of something that the CRL chair said when, we were at the launch that we were privileged to be at of the Section 22 subcommittee, specifically on gender-based violence and the sacred spaces. They're also doing work on GBVF in terms of culture and in terms of language, but obviously the one that is of particular interest, although the others are too, is the one on GBV in sacred spaces. And she said something which took a little while to sink in. She was referring to the Mbenenge case, if you remember, the sexual harassment case that was in the media, and a lot of it took place online. And she said, the law cannot deal with emojis. And I think what she was really meaning is that there are a lot of things that happen in spaces that are part of grooming and little bits of harassment and certain things that can sort of be explained away and can be normalized to an extent that we can't go and report. The criminal justice system doesn't have the capacity at this stage anyway to really try somebody for grooming, depending on obviously what it is, and some of the other things in terms of what we teach and abuse of sacred texts to put someone in a position of fear and guilt and shame in order to be able to control them. And then, if one waits until there is a criminal case, which some people are saying, we've got our criminal justice system. Apart from the fact that our criminal justice system is deeply flawed, as I think we all know, but by then it's too late. The damage has been done. So why would we wait and allow certain things to happen and not educate ourselves to understand some of the signs of what actually happens as coercive control increases gradually, particularly in the faith sector? So once again, I'm going to ask us to listen to a survivor. Cheryl is going to, in a way, draw on what Erica has said, as well as her own story, to talk about this using slightly different language, which might help us to understand it a little better.
These are just some of my inputs as someone who has experienced abuse in a sacred space, in a church, especially in the context of Christianity. The challenge with abuse in sacred spaces, like Che was saying earlier, is that it is not as straightforward as, being grabbed or being held at gunpoint, being pointed at with a knife, and being violated. It is far more insidious. It is gradual, and it is essentially being taken hostage of in your mind. Now, when something as straightforward as being grabbed happens, you obviously have the good sense to, more often than not, immediately go to a station and report. But this is so insidious that you don't even have that thought. That thought doesn't even come to mind. This is not just the hijacking of one's body, but it is the hijacking of the mind. If someone or something that is outside of yourself controls your mind, that means that you can't make decisions. Now, if you think about the depth of that, you can't make decisions. Not independently, anyways. That person or the thing that is outside of you basically is what tells you how you're allowed to feel on any given day. Whether or not you're allowed to eat or sleep on any given day. It tells you ultimately what you can do and informs your capabilities, giving no mind to any prior belief of what you were capable to do before. Now someone else is controlling you and telling you what you are capable of, what you must feel, what you must do, what you can and can't do, and ultimately what you allow to be done to you. It is a systematic bulldozing of what you believe to have known about yourself in the past. It bulldozes your relationships with your friends and family. Bulldozes everything that you believe to have known about yourself before and takes hostage of your very autonomy, basically.
Thank you. It doesn't need me to comment at all, Jessica.
Wow. Yes, thank you so much. You know, with what we have been hearing, and thank you so much, colleagues, for comments. We are seeing your comments, and thank you so much for other highlights of disability. Thank you so much. Uh, to the person even at home, I think this is very useful to listen. You know, so why is the need for a specific faith sector mechanism, DG, to be honest?
Sure. Let's ask Sihle.
What the Serial Commission is saying is that the religious sector needs to be held accountable at some point. If there's an allegation against you within the church, and they take it to the committee of the church, but the victim feels that they are not being heard, they feel that they are being gaslighted, where do they run to? Yes, you will say to us there are police stations, they must go open cases, etc., etc. But our police officers also are not trained enough to understand what grooming is. They're not trained enough to understand how they are able to coerce you into doing things. Because some will say to you, when he called you, what did you do? You are going to say, yes, I went. They said, Daddy is calling me, I went. Then they'll say, why did you go? Because they don't understand that. So the Serial Commission wants to create a board that's going to say, should you not be helped in your church, run to this particular board that is going to help you to hold your alleged pastor, prophet, whatever that you call them, accountable.
Thank you. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm not going to add more. Sihle?
Yes, because I think she explained the question very well. So that actually takes me to the next question. As she's saying that, I see there's a lot of accountability that is needed, especially also in case that the victims are being silenced by saying that why do you have to take this thing in public? We should deal with it in church and finish it with it. So in most of cases, people, I mean, a lot of victims have went through this process, have reported these matters to church, and because of we know the leaders, so we deal with the things our own way. And at the end of the day, the same victim doesn't attend church anymore, or they want nothing to do with church. So tell me, so how does the spiritual abuse really works in this all the process of the CRL, and to make the safe space for the community of South Africa?
Thank you. I think this is a big question that needs further research. I think we've heard quite a lot now. And Erica actually prepared a presentation that she presented to the CRL subcommittee. And she's allowed me to draw on it. I will also ask her if I can share it after this meeting. But the two things are, I think we've also used the word spiritual abuse in our interfaith strategy that we developed together with the 8 different faith group, not all representatives, but activists, survivors, and leaders from 8 different faith groups. And the one concept that we also use that seems to be really important to also help to understand coercive control and other aspects of spiritual abuse is this use of spiritual authority. You saw right at the beginning how, this great prophet, the Big Daddy, was kind of deified. And at first they couldn't even, meet him directly. They just heard him preach on videos. So when finally they saw him, wow, this man of God, and only to be led into a trap. So the use of the spiritual authority, and I mean, that may be an extreme case, but there may be cases where this is done in order to control somebody, or when one is feeling threatened as a leader, or to quiet somebody, etc., or even to use sacred texts, as we mentioned earlier, to kind of control how survivors respond, or even just, this abuse of power is not just to do with gender-based violence and femicide, although that's obviously the topic today. It can be financial abuse. We've seen it's also emotional and psychological abuse. It's all kinds of things. But what I think makes it so insidious is something that Erica refers to, that she read, and I can't remember who the scholar was who created this framework. But it's called the BITE framework, BITE. And the BITE framework, may be innocuous, but when it's misused, it's problematic, because we all go to, church and to our spiritual leaders because we want to learn, don't we? We want to become better people. And so, they have a huge influence, and we readily give them that influence, maybe too readily sometimes, but it's also, in a sense that we feel that that's what they're there for, to guide us. And they influence our behavior, and we might want them to do that, to help us to also, become better people and to live better and be more, considerate, and to live out our faith in, more faithful ways. That's the B. The I, we want more information. We want to understand more about God so we can get closer to God, and also understand more about ourselves and our relationships and so on. And so we're given information. We also, it's also about how we think. And we try and, as I think Paul says in Romans about the, we pray for the renewal of our minds so that we can be more godly in what we think, how we think, and also in our emotions, that we become more empathetic. And we also seek positive emotions like joy in the Lord and so on. And those all seem really, really positive. But you can imagine that if those are misused to influence our behavior, to behave in ways that we would never otherwise behave, or to control our behavior, like Erica said, to shrink ourselves so that we don't threaten the men, in the congregation or in our partnerships, etc. Or we are given information, we are given mistranslations or misinterpretations of the scriptures in order to, again, kind of coerce us, to be able to control us. Or even as Erica also mentioned, we are told what information we're allowed to share and what not. And we are, in a way, also, we keep on getting, with the same inputs, perhaps, indoctrinated into how we should think, and what emotions are acceptable and what are not acceptable. And so we become controlled, but we also can end up in a kind of a weird feedback loop. So if we feel, no, this doesn't feel right, and we try and speak up, and then we are kind of pushed down through a use of this kind of spiritual authority, we might end up in this kind of weird loop that Dr. Janja Lalich talks about, where she says members are led into a state of bounded choice. So, not free choice, bounded choice, where they make decisions that appear irrational from the outside to us. But when they're inside that system and they've been effectively groomed and indoctrinated, it seems completely rational within the group's closed reality and in line with their highest aspirations. Yes, I want to be prayed for by this amazing prophet. Yes, I want to be holy. I want this prophet to approve of me. So, yes, I will go into a private consultation with him. And I will actually even do what he wants me to do if he's telling me that that is going to make me more Christian or closer to God. So that's a very brief summary of her slides, and I do hope that it is helpful. But it kind of, for me, it provides a framework of how something that might be essentially good in terms of our ministry and spiritual guidance of our people can become so incredibly toxic and violent.
Yes. Yes, and thank you so much, DG. You know, when you're saying this, you remind me that actually this is not only happening in the Christian faith only. This is we see this happening in traditional healing space. We see that happen in other Pentecostal space. It's not only target. I don't think it's a target to a certain belief system or
No,
religion, but it's
these are just
something that,
examples. Yeah.
and yeah, these are only examples, and it happens every time when we Google and we check evidence. We see that community is crying and there's no voice for them. And the other thing that I wanted to know, that what are the consequences of speaking out, and how can the survivors be protected, on how do they protect themselves, thinking
Mm.
and talking about that. Yes.
Mm. Thank you. Yeah, and we saw some of the consequences that Erica mentioned. I don't know how many of us know the consequences on Cheryl's life. Sitle also mentions it a little bit. But and one of the witnesses, remember, in the Omotoso case was actually killed. So the consequences can really be dire. And so let's hear what Sitle says, and let's see what that is really saying to us.
They will want to say, no, this one was not abused at the hands of pastors. She was seducing pastors. These are the things that are said by religious sectors about me. And the most amazing thing is that I've been sharing my story for over 12 years now, consistently so. And when the BBC documentary dropped in 2024, 2 years ago, I felt, thank you, Jesus, finally, because people thought I was lying, but we had women from all over the world speaking their story.
So really my conclusion, and I don't know how many of you have seen that documentary about the TB Joshua sex trafficking case, it's very shocking, but how encouraging it has been for Sihle that all these other women's voices came up and courageously spoke. We've seen it with the Epstein files and in other cases. And so for me, it's saying to me, as we will speak out South Africa, as the Faith Action Collective, as those of us who are leaders here, who are activists and survivors ourselves, we need to pull together. We need to find ways of amplifying our voices and supporting and protecting those who put their lives on the line in order to keep speaking. So yeah, that's really what I'm hearing, Zika.
Yes, yes. Thank you so much, DG. You know, back in my mind, I'm thinking that I've been seeing, only edited footages about the survivors and the victims. And us as people, we are capitalizing on that. And, it's so sad when a survivor is telling you that I've been attacked. Then you come and say you lie. You've been wanting this pastor like all along, or this mom all along. So what are some steps that we can take part on or someone is sitting here thinking that, the voices of survivors, they are very important, what part can we take on to open spaces for survivors, maybe to speak and to be heard? What can we do as a collective, maybe as a community, as an individual? What is that we can do?
So I
Because
think,
clearly we can see that, yeah.
sorry, I thought you
Yes,
were
I
done.
was saying, yeah, yes, I was saying that clearly we can see that the voice of the survivors is not enough. It's not in the media, it's not in blogs, it's not even in simple SMSs, group chats. It's nowhere to be found. Please, can you please answer that question?
Thank you. What I'm really excited about, and I think each of us has to think through what it means for us in our own, local context.
Mm,
As men, as well as women, as survivors, as well as those, sometimes I think as leaders in our own faith sector, because some of these things have become so normalized, maybe I myself might have also misquoted a scripture, not realizing it was a misquote, and
mm,
done
mm,
harm to somebody without realizing it by advising them, in a way that actually was really not helpful. So I think that's what part of what really makes it difficult. That we also have to examine ourselves. And as survivors, I do want to say to survivors, I'm also a survivor from a very long time ago of spiritual abuse. And I guess most of us, when we look back, maybe we are, and maybe at some points we were also perpetrators without realizing it, in maybe smaller ways, maybe not dramatic like some of these cases. But how do we create that safety in our community so that people can speak out? Um, but also just maybe to make a proposal for us together as the Faith Action Collective, and we will speak out, and all our partners and those of us who are here. Let us not worry about all the toxic arguments and debates between some of those followers of some of these networks that are resisting really strongly and undermining the integrity of survivors, and all of that around the CRL and the case and all of that, and say, let's use this opportunity of this Section 22 subcommittee. It's not exactly the same as the committee, but it is offering us to participate in really going deeper on these issues of gender-based violence in sacred spaces. And the aim of this subcommittee, as was expressed in the launch, and there is a draft concept paper, once it's finalized, we will also share that, but it's to focus specifically on GBV and sacred spaces, and specifically to understand better how it works, what actually happens. Because if we don't understand it, we can't actually talk about what needs to be in a code of conduct and what regulatory mechanisms need to be there, what kind of disciplinary mechanisms need to be there. We need to know what it is, and there is no better place to learn, as we've shown this morning,
mm,
than from survivors. And the key mandate of
yeah.
this subcommittee is 4 areas: to conduct these consultations across in all the provinces among survivors, activists, and progressive leaders, so that we can really think about what is needed, what would make our places of worship safe. And that information is going to be fed to Parliament and to the Section 22 committee. There will be a systematic research process. UNISA has offered to also partner with us on that. So it will be a scholarly piece of work that cannot be ignored. And I think it's the first time in South Africa that survivor voices will be systematically gathered and systematically presented at national
Mm-hmm.
level. And there will be other forms of research. I won't go into those. We will continue to communicate about that. And obviously, we are also involved in public awareness strategies and so on. Please watch out for communications. I hope when you've registered, you've indicated whether you've allowed us to communicate with you. And so, yeah, let's move on this, and let us use this opportunity that we can really learn and understand, so that we can really, as the faith sector, it's not to threaten us, it's not to undermine us, but it's to strengthen us and our ministries as the faith sector. So I'm going to leave it there, except to say, if you are interested to be part of these dialogues in the different provinces among survivors, activists, progressive leaders, and so on, to gather the information about what is needed, what makes a sacred space unsafe, and what makes it safe, and to really understand what is needed. Please won't you put your name in the chat and your contact details, and then we will follow up with you, and indicate also the province that you are in. Thank you, Nsika. I think we've spoken by about 3 or 4 minutes, so I'm going to stop here, and then we can continue.
Thank you so much, DG. And let me just open a conversation, and as short as sweet to maintain time also. Then I'm opening invitation to survivors, maybe to speak, maybe if ever we have one or two, just to have maybe to give us a background, or maybe not more than 3 minutes. No, thank you so much. Do we have any survivors? If they do, we have. Please open your mic and just have a flow. And please, if ever anyone get triggered, we do have a professional counselor in our midst. Thank you so much. Maybe you can call them aside or after the meeting. Do we have
Maybe just to
any
say,
survivors?
Nsika, there's no pressure. There's no
Yes,
pressure for survivors to speak, and that you
to
may want
speak,
to just,
definitely.
as part of the discussion, speak. You may not want to
Yes,
identify yourself as a survivor, but we are
yes,
here. We want the space to be safe for everybody.
yes,
Thanks.
yes, yes. Anyone? Okay, I can hear a voice. Over to you, sir. Oh, I thought I had someone was speaking. Then can I kindly get anyone to maybe to comment or to have maybe a word or
Ntsika?
a
Okay.
conversation?
Amy
Okay.
has her hand up.
Yeah, I was gonna
Okay.
say Amy's got her hand up.
Oh,
Okay.
thank you so much. Over to you, Amy. Thank you so much, Dylan.
Hi there, everybody.
Hi, hi.
Um, so thanks. So I have put a few questions in the chat, just with regards to kind of the what power do churches have if like an attendee is a perpetrator. You were asking about who's a survivor. So I am a survivor of quite a long history of abuse, starting in childhood and then into my marriage. So I'm not specifically a survivor of any faith-based um, incidents. I don't know how you want to call them, but I've become quite outspoken, which can upset some people when
Mm,
you know, I don't, yeah, I do very much like to advocate, and currently I'm busy with my case of rape against my husband, and it's been quite a long slog of not going very far, even though I have quite significant evidence. But just for an example, my process, I spoke with a rape organization. I've also spoken with other friends and family regarding the case, and he has now sent me over the last 2 years 3 defamation accusations against him. I mean, against me, saying I'm defaming him. So just on the kind of line that you were talking about regarding survivors speaking, why is there kind of a silence in regard to that? Not only is it intimidation and threats, it's legal process threats. So to publicly talk about my case, just for my example, I've gotten into quite a lot of trouble, even though, I haven't named names, it hasn't been a lie, and it hasn't been public. So those are kind of your defamation criteria. But I still get that. I still get these threats and that through attorneys. So it's quite hard because you have to choose your words so entirely carefully to speak about what's happening. So I do feel that's a very large stumbling block for a lot of survivors, is the threats that come with it into silence. And for most, I would say, you just want to be quiet because you've already had this trauma. To then compound the trauma and to feel frightened for your life after the event, it's all kind of all consuming. So that's just what I wanted to say.
Wow, thank you so much. I pray that all goes well, and there is support for you if you need support. Daniela has sent messages, and you are even in a good space here. We do have any sort of support you need in network. So I don't know if there's anyone also that is
Okay.
interested, perhaps, in saying anything.
Okay, can I come in? I didn't raise hand because I didn't know
Please,
where to.
please come in.
Okay,
Please come
my
in.
name
Yes.
is Lucy. I'm not a survivor, but I'm a mother
Mm,
of a 15-year-old daughter who experienced bullying, harassment. The harassment went to extent that she got Instagram threats that
mm,
her life is in danger. Somebody in church saying they are going to do something that she will regret herself, that will tear her
mm,
dignity. And that obviously it's a police case. I escalated to the police, I escalated to the church authorities. To my surprise, the church, instead of not accusing, because we're not sure who the perpetrator is, the perpetrator used somebody's profile as if it's that
mm,
somebody. But I was expecting the church to stand and say no to gender based violence in our
mm,
church, especially targeting these young girls who are vulnerable. Don't contaminate our children, but instead the church distance themselves. And at the end of the day, I was seen as because I'm a vocal mother, I'm not going to stand and allow wrong things happening in the church. And then I was treated as even, no, this one wants to break the church. This one is wrong. This one is that. But for the church to take accountability or action to say, we are not accusing anyone, but we are saying as a church in that society to say, no, we are not going to allow this. Instead, there was like protecting somebody or some authority, I don't know, but the way it came out to me is that no, because it's a police issue, as a church we cannot do anything. The only thing we can offer is pastoral care. The pastoral care didn't even happen, to the extent that I decided to relocate my daughter from where we are staying to somewhere else, so that I am confident that she is safe, because that person has said, I will attack you in church. We don't know how, when, but you can see the church is not a safe space. It's not as sacred as we thought it should be. So hence I'm supporting that there must be strong mechanism of reporting such in church, because even now, while I'm still waiting for our law enforcement and long procedures, again from the church I lost confidence. Like I'm hanging, I don't know what to do, but I feel like I cannot sit back and then keep quiet while there is gender-based violence in church. Is the church waiting for somebody to attack my daughter or to do something horrible? And then that is when they will come in social media and saying, we support this, away with gender-based violence. What is the stand of the church in terms of gender-based violence? Is it all about social media to say we are out there, we are advocating on social media, but in real life they are nowhere to find? Thank you.
Thank you so much, Melusi, and apologies for what has came to you. And please do, that there is support, in this space. Leave your numbers. Please join us, join our conversations, join the movement, so that we can see such things not happening. Because trust me, you are not the only one. It's happening every day, every time. And when leaders need to be accountable because they know, or traditionalist healers, they know their gobela or whatever, they will not take it further. They will just do any tricky to make you run away from church. Without it wasting any time, let me appreciate everyone that has shared, because now we are running 2 minutes to a closing time. But I'm appreciating everyone that you have comments. Please make sure that you put in chat. Don't forget that if you want to participate in our working groups and every groups, make sure
Sika,
that
we
you
have
leave
another
your.
15 minutes.
Oh, we have another 15
We
minutes. Thank
close
you
at
so much. I
quarter
was
two,
just
remember?
tell me. Thank you so much, DG. Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you so much. You know, when I see half past now, my mind goes around. Let me also open. We have 15 minutes. We are on time. I just want to hear sorry to say, a male voice. I haven't had any male voice concerning this. You know, these are things are happening every time. We've seen this from Val to Free State, from Free State to Kian. There's no one. We cannot point one person. It's us. It's us. Thank you so much. Anyone that wanna talk, just open the mic. Please go up. Thank you. But then, if there's no one who want to talk, I'll make sure that DG, I don't see any hand. If I can
There's
see
some
an hand,
messages. There's messages.
there's some.
There's a question that Amy raised, and Fulata also.
Yes,
Let's start with Fulata. Can I read it,
yes.
Nsika? Because I have it
Can we
open.
please, let's do
Yeah.
that.
Or Fulata, would you like to ask the question yourself?
Yeah.
Thanks.
Thank you so much.
Welcome.
My question really, I think, is just a question of us redefining the church, because I know that when we talk about the church, I am a member of the church, therefore I am church. So when we are talking about the church, can we be specific so that we are not vague?
I don't know if
Yes, yes.
anyone
Thank
wants
you.
to respond to that. I would have a clear response, but others may. Francesca's got her hand up. Can you see that, Nsika?
Yes, I see. Can you? I don't know if ever she wants to respond on the question now. If that's so, can you please kindly open your mic and go ahead.
Good afternoon, everyone. No, I don't want to specifically respond to the lady's question. However, I want to be very clear. I'm one of the people of the committee that did the new Domestic Violence Act. We reviewed the regulations and we reconstituted the Act to what it is today. When it comes to national regulations of law, that is your first point of reference. Every citizen in the country, every institution, every company, every faith-based organization are subject to the law. Hence, when we decided to include spiritual abuse, religious abuse, economic abuse, emotional abuse, all the various forms of abuse within the Domestic Violence Act, that constitutes that a faith-based organization, its structures and its head is equally accountable in terms of the Domestic Violence Act. And the Domestic Violence Act then constitutes further, it expanded and constitutes the current Gender-Based Violence Act. And everything gender-based violence, I'm currently rewriting the directives for every government department. Everybody is bound by that law. No pastor can tell you that they have no standing, no inclination to assist. That is against the law. When something is made aware and brought to the attention of a faith-based person, whether it's the pastor, head, or the substructures themselves, they are equally obliged to assist the victim through to get a case opened at the South African Police Services. They cannot say it's not a matter for the church. They are written into the regulations and they are equally accountable. Should they try and convince a victim or manipulate or coerce a victim in any way not to go ahead with action, they are equally liable and can be sued by the victim and the victim's family. Nobody is above the law. Please understand that. That is what I want to share. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having that insight. I think Melusi, you are
Thank you
listening.
very much.
Yes, thank you, Mama. Let me take DG. You will have to explain the term of church, because if I have to explain it, I'm gonna explain it my township way. But let's do this. I'm gonna give Sateche. She raised the hand up. Then after it's gonna be Millie. Please on clock, Mesatera, over to you.
Good afternoon, and thank you for the burning issue and the burning platform that you are in, and the lives that some of our kids are living. Because I'm a mother of an autistic girl who something happened, and the case was shoved under the table by the police. I fought my battles up until I'm tired, because she's a non-verbal one. But nonetheless, I want to respond to the lady who said, "Why don't we name and shame the churches?" Remember, let's say, for example, I'm a Roman Catholic church or I'm a Lutheran church. So, but remember, the churches are all over the world. We cannot come and name and shame. But the people that are here today, I think from different churches, and as soldiers that want to curb this scourge that we are facing, I think they can take that back to their churches. But we cannot come and name and shame churches, because in churches there are different people. Some of them are innocent. Yes, it might have happened where it happened, maybe it's Lutheran or to what, because on the WhatsApp and on the media it comes viral. But you cannot paint all of them with the same brush. We have to fight, like I'm saying, with the autistic daughter. I'm still fighting for in the background, and I'm naming and shaming where relevance is. But I can say churches, really, most of the churches are not safe spaces. We can say what happened recently, even in Good Fridays. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Straight to the point. It is true that I cannot say when one person is messed up or 10 people, and also everyone is messed up. Without doing, Millie, over to you.
Thank you very much. Yes, thank you very much for opening up this platform for us to speak. As the people who are social workers, well-trained social workers, I want to raise this issue of, in our churches, we find ourselves, allowing people who are not properly trained in terms of how to listen to stories of survivors and how to handle these cases. I think we need to strongly empower our pastors, and we strongly have to empower, our congregants, members who are willing to assist with issues of GBV in the churches, and also of creating safe space in the churches. So that is also an issue which for me bothers me a lot, because survivors are scared to open up and speak out because of people who mishandle these stories. I thank you.
Thank you so much, Meneli. I think DG, there's also comments in the inbox. Do you mind running to the inbox, perhaps maybe hear what is happening, because
Okay.
I see a few comments. After
Yeah.
that, is it
Phenomenal.
Pastor.
Pastor TJ Klongwani will come after
Yeah.
TJ. Thank
There
you.
seem to be two Millies here.
Oh, there's another. Oh no, before PJ, before Pastor, please, Millie will go forward. Yes, thank you. Yeah,
Okay.
DG,
Other
please
Millie.
visit the inbox form. Yes.
Is it my turn now?
No, I wanted to, you can go ahead. Then DG will take it after you and just give us the feedback of the chat. Thank you, colleague.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you so much. And I really appreciate the opportunity of being part of this movement. It's my first time attending. I don't know how many times have you been having this gathering. My name is Millie, Milly, Majola. I will give my own understanding of what the church is, because I belong to a Catholic church. I'm a Catholic by birth and by practice. I belong to an organization, a faith-based organization called Lay Dominicans. and the Dominicans are fighting for justice and peace. We have our motto as truth. So this is a very relevant platform for me to be part of, and I will invite my fellow sisters and brothers to be part of this. I sent the link that I was given by my beloved sister Dr. Bongizengele. I thank him. I thank her for this. My understanding of a church is that I like it if you say faith-based space, because if you say church is like we are only looking at the Christian faith-based people, but we have different religions. So for me, I would say instead of using church, let's just use faith-based, because then we are inclusive, because GBV is not only occurring in Christian churches, but research will show that it has no boundaries in terms of religion. That's my understanding. I will appreciate if we can have these discussions. And as I have said, I thank you so much for this opportunity.
Thank you so much. We appreciate you, Emily, for that input. Yes, it's important to know that. Pastor Hlongwane, over to you.
Yes, greetings. Hello, am I audible?
Yes, so you are audible, colleague.
Oh, thank you very much. Let me extend my greetings to you as the chair, and to all the members in this group. I greet you all in the name of the Lord Jesus Christ. Amen.
Oh, God.
Um, uh, you know what? I'm listening attentively, but I'm sorry that when you're listening like this, you get disturbed by a call doing this and there, and you stand up to do something. You catch up, and sometimes you lose something. But let me start on this one. Okay, partially, I'm well covered by the recent speaker in terms of faith-based, because she's quite true that faith-based includes all types of religions. That's quite correct. I'm not going to repeat what she said. I'm going to waste time. I know the time is, we've less than 6 minutes left, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, I'm gonna try to be as short as possible, Ken. Another thing that I wish to quote, with your permission, Chairperson, allow me to quote maybe Section 9 of the RSA Constitution, Act 108 of 1996, which prescribed that everyone is equal before the law and has the right to equal protection as well as benefit of the law. In terms of the law, we're all equal. So I myself, as an ordained pastor, we are all equal in the hands of God, and He loves us all equal. I can quote John 3, verse 16, that Jesus loves us all equal, no matter uh, what kind of person are you, or maybe you're short, you're tall, black, white, Indian, or whatever. But He loves us all equal. So we should treat each other equally. The challenges, or maybe the problems that they are in the church, there are some structures which has different portfolios. Maybe there's a chair, deputy chair, secretary, deputy secretary, and the treasurer. And maybe the pastor sometimes misuses his or her powers to those structures, because most of the time the structures, they do like, I want to put a word that is suitable. They put their opinions in such a way that they end up taking a valid resolution which will be valid to the church, and maybe which will assist the church going forward, and which will stop the perpetrators, and which will kick out the perpetrators from the church. But because of misuse of powers, that's where the problem starts. And I wish to second the lady, I'm sure it's Francisca, if I'm not mistaken. She was talking about the Domestic Violence Act. I'm not going to repeat what she said, but I wish to support also. She was quite correct. Thank you very much, Chairperson.
Thank you so much, Pastor. It's so amazing coming from you. You are definitely going in line of spiritual abuse. Thank you so much. Without wasting time, colleagues, our time is o'clock. So now I would like to call upon the DG maybe to visit few a few messages on the chat and also giving our closing remarks for today. And immediately after you, I will just request Sonia to uh, to to give us the prayer for the interfaith so that we can be able to, after you we enter into the prayer. Thank you so much. Over to you, DJ.
Thank you so much, and thank you for the engagement. I wish we had more time, but this is, this is an ongoing conversation, and I'm so excited at how many people have added their names to the chat so that we will be communicating with you as things start to take shape around those dialogues and that research. Just in terms of who are we church, I think I mentioned a few times earlier, Fulata, not just church, but as faith, members of the faith, whatever faith we are all that. And I find sometimes as activists, we cut ourselves off. We can be activists and be really progressive in our thinking. And then when we get to church, we just leave our brains behind. And yeah, and sometimes we also perpetrate the same misinterpretations, the same kinds of teachings and the same kinds of harm without even realizing it because they've been so normalized. So we do need to each take responsibility while also being able to call out leaders that are really misusing their authority, as you've just said, Pastor. Selena makes a really important point about naming and shaming, not necessarily specific churches and so on, which I think may also be necessary at points, but specific practices within faith institutions. I wish we could allow you to speak to this, Selena. Unfortunately, we've run out of time, but we will have other spaces. So we must be holding faith institutions to account, not just for what is done, but for our bystander roles. And I say our deliberately because it's not an us and them. We're so pure, and the faith sector are also so bad. We do tend to stand by and feel intimidated to say something. And yes, how do we amplify those voices? And I hope participating in this upcoming research and so on will really help us to amplify those voices, which are so necessary. Leo says we really, people should be getting clearance certificates. And I know our church has instituted that. And yeah, we need to make sure that it actually happens and we don't just say that it's happening. And then Puni says GBV is highly prevalent and underreporting is so pervasive. So let's think some more about how we can actually contribute to opening up those spaces and building maybe a faith movement, a Me Too movement, where we can speak out and speak up, but safely. I don't know, Sonia, if you've added Nompilo's phone number on the chat. Sons, if you could please do that, from Pepisa and Espe. So if anyone would like to talk further with the Pepisa Survivors Network, who do really incredible work, please would you just check in the chat. Somebody on a phone says, request people who wish to speak avoid greetings and get into the discussion. Yeah, we do have time issues. Francesca, we'd like to talk to you further, please, so that we can, we've been dreaming of a little 2-pager that translates the law for the faith sector. I don't know, Francesca, if you'd be available, if you could share even just directly to me your contact details, although we'd have it on the registration, but let us know.
I have,
yes.
sorry, Daniela, I filled in your registration.
Okay, good. Perfect.
So you are welcome to contact me. As I say, I am one of the people who are reviewing all the regulations and
Okay.
who is responsible for the act as it is. So I am available at any time. Please
Fantastic.
send me an email.
Thank you. Thank you so much. That's absolutely wonderful. And then there's a few other comments, people wanting to add their names. And Jeanette speaks about her church where Sunday school teachers have to get clearance. In our church, every single person, ordained or lay, is supposed to. But it's a huge church and we don't necessarily see it really happening. And those structures of accountability are so crucial. So I just want to, from the side of somebody who has such a deep burden about accountability in the faith sector, and as coordinator, we will speak out South Africa, and that is secretariat to the Faith Action Collective. I am so excited about the possibilities going forward. And thank you so much for your interest. Please be patient. Sorry. My alarm's gone off. Please be patient. We will be getting back to you. This will be available for you to use in your own context, but also we'll get back to you around the research itself. Tabisa, please contact us. The numbers are there. That's one of the things that we do is help people develop gender-based violence policies for their churches. We are here for you. Please let us know in which ways we can support. We do have capacity support teams, members from the different faiths, not just the Christian faith, who can also help with this work and maybe bounce ideas or just support you in whatever ways you need. Please let us know. Thank you, Nsika. I don't want to overstay my welcome. I think that's it.
Thank you so much, DG. Apologies, colleagues, for taking extra time. But now we have get to a point whereby we need to do an interfaith prayer that we usually do in our meetings and face-to-face and online. Kindly share with me. Thank you so much, Jill. So we have 5-line prayer here. The first one, second one, third one, fourth one. The last one is all of us. Kindly, I will ask for a volunteer for number 1 and 2, 3, 4. Do I have any volunteer for number 1?
I'll do number 1, Mkulu.
Okay.
Who's that? Dr. Pagati?
And yes. Bukelwa, maybe they can do 1 and 2, Nsika?
Yes, 1 and 2. Dr. Pagati can do 1. Mambukela can do 2. Number 3? Do we have any number 3?
I can do it, Nsika. It's one song.
Thank you so much, Chairperson. Noted. Number 4?
I'll do it, Nsika.
Thank you so much, Dylan. And number 5, we're going to do it together as we are. Microphone over to you.
Is it me?
It's me, yeah. Gender-based violence is unacceptable, inexcusable, and intolerable in all its manifestations.
Yet we confess that we have sometimes chosen not to see or tolerated gender-based violence. We have been collaborators and co-conspirators against the very essence of our creation.
From our platform within local communities, people of faith potentially play a vital role in raising awareness, advocating for survivors' rights, and against impunity, holding perpetrators accountable, and challenging harmful gender norms and gender injustices without fear or favor.
Yet, we confess that we have often been complicit by our silence, our inaction, our misuse of sacred texts, and our rigid structures that silence or exclude diversity. Thus, we have undermined God's image in all people.
All of us now.
Therefore, we commit
standing
Speaking
up,
up,
Speaking
speaking
out,
out,
Taking
Standing
decisive
up,
decisions,
deciding to stand out, speaking out, and
accountable
taking decisive
action
action
to
to each other and to God.
to each other
and to all.
to God.
Amen.
Thank you
Amen.
so much.
Amen.
Thank you so much.
Amen. Thank
Benjalo.
you.
Thank you so much.
Colleagues, you can just open your videos, wave to each other. Thokozani, thank you so much. We
Oh, thank
appreciate
you
it for
so
being
much.
here.
Thokozani.
Yes, siyabulela.
Ngiyabonga
Ngiyabulala
kakhulu.
Down,
kakhulu.
Thank
down,
you
down,
so
down,
Thank
down.
much.
you.
Thank you so
Bye.
much.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye,
Bye.
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 Thank you.
Bye. Bye. Bye.
Wow. Thank you.
Thank you.
Lekker dag.
Thank you.